Welcome to this week's version of the Conservative Christian Ecology Podcast. I'll be your host this show, and hopefully we'll have a pretty good time together. My name is Justin Allison, and I am a Old Testament PhD student at Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth, and have a few things for us to talk about here. I'd like to start with a blog post which I wrote on April 30th regarding the environmental impact of the Gulf oil spill. The results at that time were thought to be catastrophic when the oil spill inadvertently and certainly in the minds of everyone at that point was going to hit the coast. Of course, we know now, 2.5 weeks later, this has not happened as of yet. Certainly not in the magnitude that it was predicted to have happened. So, as a Christian who cares about God's creation, I want to react in two ways. First, I'll be praying for the people who will inevitably be harmed by this catastrophe. There will be people who suffer property damage and damage to their businesses, and even perhaps to their person. And second, I want to support an effort to make sure that the mess is cleaned up as best as possible. For me, that also means supporting enforcement rules which are in place to make sure things like this don't happen. I do think that overall, one would have to admit that there haven't been many accidents in the Gulf, given the large amount of offshore oil operations present in the area. To my knowledge, this is based on talking to someone in the offshore oil business. There has been at least one other occurrence like this near Mexico, but that was quite some time ago. And at the same time, this event highlights the seriousness of a disaster and the need for businesses and individuals to exercise great care in extracting oil from this vitally important area. Now, in a less reactionary way, I'd like to remind my readers and listeners and viewers that Scripture says in Psalm 19 that the heavens and the earth, you might think of it as sky and land, declare the glory of God. I think we should be careful when we are engaging in any sort of an activity which could potentially harm that declaration of God's greatness. In a very real way, God placed humanity here to tend the garden. See Genesis 2:15. Now, therefore, humans, as the image bearers of God, ought to use our authority and unique position to act benevolently toward the creation which he originally called good. Now I'd like to, kind of talk about something more practical, and that is, how do we choose a compact fluorescent light bulb? I found that most of the people I talk to are unsure about converting to CFLs, or fluorescent lights, to replace standard light bulbs. As a Christian who cares about God's creation, I've replaced nearly all of my older bulbs. And the reason is, lighting accounts for about 25% of one's energy bill. So change your bulbs, limit their use, and save some money. Maybe even the planet. First step when choosing a bulb, read the package. Now, that's not normally something we want to do, but when we're choosing a CFL, compact fluorescent light bulb, that is very, very important, more so than a regular light bulb. The reason being, the package will say something like 13 watt CFL equals 60 watt incandescent, which is your normal light bulb. So if you're wanting to replace a 60 watt bulb, a 13 watt CFL is for you, unless it lists lumens. Now, usually 900 lumens is the measure of brightness for a 60 watt bulb. So even if it says 13 watt CFL, make sure that it says 900 lumens. And if it doesn't say that, it's probably fine, but certainly good to see 900 lumens on there. Then check the package for the color measurement. You'll notice that the color is listed in degrees Kelvin. It might say color temperature. Probably seems intimidating if it's been a while since you were in high school physics, if you even had high school physics. So all you need to know is that there are 3 main levels of color. There is kind of a pink, there's yellow, and then there is a bluish. Now the lower number, which is usually 2700 degrees Kelvin, 2700, that's the pink color. The middle one is yellow. Sometimes they say 3000, sometimes it's higher than that. But that's going to be your yellow kind of color. And then the highest, 6000, is bluish. Personally, I like the middle ones, that is the yellowish tint ones. They look like regular light bulbs. The light that comes out of them is basically the same color as something that comes out of a standard incandescent light bulb. Oh, and don't forget to look for something like instant on the package. Sometimes cheap CFLs will take a while to warm up. Now, I made the mistake of buying some of those cheaper ones for my daughter's bedroom, and so now when you flip the light switch on, it takes seriously about a minute and a half for the light to be fully bright. It's not that the light doesn't work, it's just that it takes the fluorescent that much time to get fully bright. On the other hand, the lights in this room are what is called instant on lights. So as soon as you flip the switch, the light bulb comes on. Now, the mid-grade ones, the bulbs that usually come in a light fixture, if you bought a light fixture that said Energy Star or whatever, those are usually kind of mid-range. They don't have to warm up and get brighter and brighter, but they do kind of have a delay. You'll flip the switch, it'll be like flip the switch, and then boom, the light comes on. And so go ahead and spend the extra $1 or whatever to get the instant on light bulbs. It'll save you a lot of headache, because if you're a guy and you're married, your wife is probably going to say, what's the deal with that light bulb? I don't like that. Put it back to the other one. So go ahead and spend the extra $1 and get one that will make you and your wife happy. So step number 2, decide how many watts you need. Are you putting 4 bulbs in a ceiling fan? If so, the standard 13 watt CFLs will probably do the trick. Does your wife want a lot of light in the closet so she can see her shoes? If so, then you better get the 27 watt, which is a 100 watt equivalent. And they really are pretty bright. You can tell a difference between those two. So look and see the wattage equivalent. And if you really did want a 100 watt light bulb, go ahead and get the higher wattage CFLs. Number 3, do you need a dimmable light? Now, this is important. If you have one of the dimmer switches on your wall, some CFLs will not work with those switches at all. You can find a CFL that says that it is dimmable, and while the CFL itself, the light bulb, won't actually dim, it will actually work with your switch.